hello, and a very gentle welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. Find that place where you can feel most at ease, where your body can finally let go of the day. Allow yourself to sink into the surface that supports you, feeling the comforting pull of gravity. Take a slow, soft breath in and release it with a gentle sigh. There is nothing else you need to do, nothing to solve. Just be here in this quiet moment and breathe. Tonight, our thoughts will wander through the slow, beautiful changes of our world. Think of the feeling of the very first crisp autumn morning after a long, hot summer, or the particular scent of the earth after the first rain of spring. Think of the deep, muffled silence of a world covered in fresh winter snow, or the long, lazy drone of insects on a warm summer evening. Our planet is not static. It is a world in a constant state of metamorphosis, a slow, graceful dance through four distinct personalities. We call them the seasons. Have you ever wondered, as you felt that first chill of winter, or the first warmth of spring, about the great cosmic engine that drives this change? What is it that commands the trees to shed their leaves, and then calls them back to life again? Tonight, we will explore this gentle planetary rhythm. We will travel around the sun on our tilted world and uncover the beautiful secret behind its changing faces. Let your curiosity be a soft blanket, and let the story guide you gently towards sleep. Let us begin our journey with a simple, intuitive thought. When we ask ourselves why our world has warm seasons and cold seasons, our minds naturally go to the most obvious source of all warmth and light in our solar system, the sun. It is the great fire at the center of our celestial home. And with any fire, we know that the closer we are to it, the warmer we feel. The farther away we are, the colder it gets. It seems perfectly logical, then, to assume that this is the secret of our seasons. Perhaps the Earth's journey around the sun is not a perfect circle. Perhaps it is an oval path that brings us closer to the sun for a few months, giving us summer, and then carries us farther away, plunging us into winter. It's a clean, simple, and elegant explanation. It feels right. It appeals to our everyday experience of the world. And many people believe this is the answer. And the first part of that thought is true. The Earth's orbit is not a perfect circle. Our planet does indeed follow a path that is slightly elliptical, a vast cosmic lap that takes one full year to complete. And on this journey, there is a point where we are closest to the sun, and a point where we are farthest away. The point of closest approach is called the perihelion. The point of farthest distance is called the aphelion. So, the foundation for this idea is real. Our distance from the sun does change over the course of the year. But here, our journey takes an unexpected turn. Here, the universe reveals that its secrets are often more subtle and more beautiful than our first intuitions might suggest. Let us look at when these moments of closest and farthest approach actually happen. In the Northern Hemisphere, where the seasons of summer and winter are most classically defined, we experience our longest, warmest, sunniest days in the months of June, July, and August. This is our summer. So, according to our simple, intuitive idea, this must be when we are closest to the sun. But the reality is exactly the opposite. The Earth reaches its farthest point from the sun, its aphelion, in early July. At the very peak of the northern summer, when the air is warm and the days are long, we are actually farther from our star than at any other time of the year. Conversely, think of the deep cold of the northern winter, the short, gray days of December, January, and February. This surely must be when our world is at its farthest point from the sun's warmth. But again, the cosmos presents us with a beautiful paradox. The Earth makes its closest approach to the sun, its perihelion, in early January. In the heart of the northern hemisphere's winter, our planet is actually closer to the sun than at any other time. Let this gentle contradiction settle in your mind. The most obvious answer, the one that makes the most common sense, is not the right one. The seasons are not a matter of distance. The difference in heat our planet receives between its closest and farthest points is very small, and it is completely overwhelmed by another, far more powerful and elegant factor. This is a wonderful thing. It means the mystery is deeper than we thought. It means we must look for a different answer, a more subtle clue. It tells us that our planet's relationship with the sun is not as simple as just moving closer or farther away. The answer is not in the distance of our journey, but in the posture we hold as we travel. It is not about how close we get to the fire, but about how we turn ourselves toward its warmth. This realization is the true beginning of our story. We have cleared away the most common misconception. We have opened our minds to a new possibility. We can now let go of the idea of a simple proximity, and instead, we can begin to explore the true cause, a gentle, constant, and unwavering lean in our planet's stance as it glides through the cosmos. So, as you rest here, think of the Earth on its grand, year-long journey. See it moving along its great oval path. Feel it in July, far from the sun, yet bathed in the warmth of a northern summer. And see it in January, millions of miles closer to the sun, yet locked in the quiet chill of a northern winter. The puzzle is laid bare, and the answer lies not in this path, but in the Earth itself. It lies in a tilt, a lean, a permanent inclination that our world has held for billions of years, a lean that transforms the steady, constant light of the sun into the beautiful, life-giving rhythm of the seasons. We have arrived at a place of quiet wonder. We have discovered that the great rhythm of the seasons, the slow turning from warmth to cold and back again, is not born from our planet's changing distance to the sun. We are left with a beautiful puzzle. The cause must be something more subtle, something written into the very posture of our world as it journeys through space. And now, it is time to meet the hero of our story, the true and only reason for the seasons. It is an idea of profound simplicity and grace. It is the Earth's constant lean. Imagine our planet, floating in the dark emptiness of space. It is not sitting perfectly upright. It is tilted, like a spinning top that has found a steady, graceful lean. Our world is permanently inclined to one side, through the very center of our planet. From the icy expanse of the North Pole to the frozen continent of the South Pole, there runs an imaginary line. This is the Earth's axis. It is the invisible rod around which our world performs its constant, daily spin. And this axis is not perpendicular to our path around the sun. It is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degrees. This number, 23.5 degrees, may seem small and abstract, but it is the most important number in the story of life on Earth. It is the magic number that unlocks the entire rhythm of the seasons. Think of it not as a dry geometric fact, but as a posture. Our world is not facing the universe straight on. It is making a permanent, gentle bow, a gesture of inclination that it maintains throughout its entire year-long journey. Now, the most crucial part of this idea, the part that makes everything else possible, is that this tilt is constant. It is stable. As the Earth travels on its vast orbit around the sun, this lean does not change. The Earth doesn't wobble back and forth like a dizzy top. The North Pole does not sometimes point toward the sun and sometimes away. It remains fixed, pointing steadfastly to the very same spot in the distant, starry heavens. If you were to stand at the North Pole and look straight up, you would see a star that barely seems to move, and shall we call it Polaris, the North Star? This is because the Earth's northern axis points almost directly at it, and as our planet journeys for 365 days around the Sun, a journey of nearly 600 million miles, that axis continues to point faithfully toward Polaris. It is our planet's celestial anchor. Whether it is January or July, whether we are closer to the Sun or farther away, the top of our world is always oriented in the same direction, relative to the background of distant stars. This constancy is everything. It is the steady, reliable foundation upon which the entire mechanism of the seasons is built. Let this image form in your mind. A beautiful blue and white sphere, spinning smoothly, but with a persistent, graceful lean. This tilt is not an accident of the present moment. It is an ancient feature of our world. Most scientists believe it is the result of a cataclysmic event deep in our planet's past, billions of years ago. A colossal impact, perhaps from a Mars-sized object, that knocked our young Earth off its vertical axis, and it has remained tilted ever since. From this ancient, violent collision came the gentle, life-giving rhythm that we know today. A scar that became a cradle for life. To understand how vital this lean is, imagine for a moment a world without it. Imagine a planet whose axis was perfectly upright, straight up and down. As this planet orbited the Sun, its equator would always be the part closest to the Sun's direct light. The Sun would always appear directly overhead at the equator, every single day of the year. The poles would always be in a state of perpetual twilight, with the Sun just skimming the horizon, its light weak and spread out. On such a world, there would be no seasons. The climate at any given location would be the same all year round. The equator would be locked in a state of perpetual, intense summer. The mid-latitudes would be in a permanent, unchanging autumn or spring, and the poles would be eternally, unimaginably cold. There would be no cycle of growth and dormancy, no migration of birds, no hibernation of animals, no shedding of leaves. The planet would have climates, yes, but it would not have a rhythm. It would be a world of monotonous constancy. Our world is different. Our world has a story to tell over the course of a year, and it is all because of this simple, elegant, 23.5-degree lean. So let us pause and appreciate this fundamental characteristic of our home. It is easy to think of the ground beneath us as stable, as the definition of level. But the entire platform upon which we live is tilted. We are all living life at an angle. Every forest, every mountain, every ocean exists on a planet that is making a constant, graceful bow to the cosmos. This tilt is the secret. It is the single most important piece of the puzzle. It is the reason why the northern half of our planet can have summer, while the southern half has winter. It is the reason why the days grow long and then short again. It is the reason the sun appears high in the sky on some months, and low on the horizon in others. We now have the two essential ingredients for our story. We have a planet that is perpetually leaning in one single, unchanging direction, and we have this tilted planet taking a great, year-long journey around the sun. The next step in our journey together is to combine these two facts. To see what happens when our constantly leaning world moves from one side of the sun to the other. It is in this combination of a constant posture and a changing position that the magic of the seasons is finally unlocked. It is a story of how a simple, sustained lean can create a world of endless, beautiful change. We now hold the two essential truths of our story in our minds. The first is that our Earth is a planet with a permanent, graceful lean, and unwavering tilt of 23.5 degrees. its northern axis always pointing faithfully to the same distant star. The second is that our planet is on a constant year-long journey, a vast elliptical path around the fire of the sun. Now, it is time to put these two beautiful ideas into motion together. It is time to combine the constant posture with the constant journey. And in doing so, watch the entire rhythm of the seasons unfold. Let us begin by imagining this journey. It is a path of immense scale, a cosmic circuit of nearly 600 million miles. The Earth glides along this path at a speed of over 66,000 miles per hour. And yet, because the distances are so vast, the journey is one of profound slowness and grace. It is the great steady clock of our world, each full lap marking the passage of 1 year, a rhythm so reliable that all of life has learned to set its own internal calendars by it. To truly understand what happens on this journey, let us use our imagination to create a model. Picture yourself in a very large, dark room. In the very center of the room is a single, bright, warm lamp. This lamp is our sun. Now, you will represent the Earth. You're going to walk in a great, slow circle around this central lamp. But before you take your first step, you must adopt the Earth's posture. Stand still and gently tilt your head and upper body to one side. Let's say you tilt to your right. This is now your permanent lean, your 23.5-degree axial tilt. The crucial part of our model is this: as you walk your great circle around the lamp, your head must always point toward the same wall of the room. You cannot change your lean. If you are pointing toward the north wall of the room, you must continue pointing toward the north wall for your entire journey. Your lean is constant relative to the room, not relative to the lamp. Now, let us begin the journey. Let's start at a position in your circular path where your tilted head representing the northern hemisphere is leaning directly toward the warm, central lamp. The light from the lamp is shining most directly on your face. You can feel its warmth. This position, this orientation, represents the northern summer. Your face, the northern hemisphere, is receiving the most direct attention from the sun. Slowly, you begin to walk your circle, always maintaining that same steady lean, your head always pointing toward that same distant wall. After you have walked a quarter of the way around the room, pause and observe your position relative to the lamp. Your head is still tilted toward that far wall, but because you have moved, your lean is now sideways to the lamp. The light is no longer shining directly on your face. Instead, it is shining evenly on the side of your head. Your face is neither tilted toward the lamp nor away from it. This is a moment of balance. This represents autumn in the northern hemisphere. You continue your slow, steady walk. You complete another quarter of your circle until you are now on the exact opposite side of the lamp from where you began. Stop here. Your head, remember, is still tilted with absolute fidelity toward that same far wall. But look at what has happened. Because you are on the other side of the lamp, your constant lean is now causing your face to be tilted directly away from the light. The lamp's rays are now shining more on the back of your head. Your face is in shadow, receiving the light at a low, glancing angle. You can feel less of its warmth. This position represents the northern winter. The journey continues. You walk another quarter of the circle, your posture unwavering. Once again, you find yourself in a position where your lean is sideways to the lamp. The light shines evenly on the side of your head once more. It is another moment of perfect balance. This represents the spring. And finally, you complete the last quarter of your journey, arriving back at your starting point, where your face, your northern hemisphere, is once again leaning into the light, welcoming the warmth of summer. you have completed one full year. You have walked through all 4 seasons. Not because you got closer to or farther from the lamp, and not because you changed your posture, but simply because your constant, steady lean was presented to the lamp in different ways as you journeyed around it. This is the secret. This is the entire beautiful and elegant mechanism of the seasons. Now, let us translate this back to our real Earth. As our planet travels on its year-long path, the northern hemisphere, always pointing toward Polaris, spends part of the year tilted toward the sun. This is its summer. During this time, the southern hemisphere is, by necessity, tilted away from the sun. So, when it is summer in the north, it is winter in the south. Then, as the Earth continues in its orbit, it reaches a point where the tilt is sideways to the sun. This is the northern autumn and the southern spring. It is a moment of balance for the whole planet. As the Earth moves to the other side of its orbit, the northern hemisphere, still pointing faithfully toward its distant star, is now angled away from the sun. This is its winter. And now, it is the southern hemisphere's turn to lean into the light, to receive the direct warmth, to experience its summer. And finally, the Earth reaches the last quarter of its journey. Another point of balance, and it is spring in the north and autumn in the south. And then we are back where we started, the cycle complete, ready to begin anew. It is a celestial dance of profound grace. The Earth performs its 2 motions perfectly. It spins with a constant lean, and it orbits with a constant pace. It is the combination of these 2 simple, reliable movements that creates the complex, life-giving rhythm of the seasons. The seasons are not something that happen to the Earth. They are something that emerge from the Earth's own posture and its relationship with its star. So, as you rest, you can hold this dynamic image in your mind. See the tilted Earth, gliding smoothly on its vast, circular track. See how the northern half of the planet gracefully bows toward the sun for half of the year. And then, as it continues its journey, gracefully bows away from it. It is a planetary gesture of giving and receiving, a slow and deeply peaceful exchange. We have now uncovered the great why of the seasons. The next step in our journey will be to understand how this simple change in orientation can lead to such profound changes in warmth and weather. It is a story about the very nature of light itself. We have set our tilted planet on its year-long journey. We have seen how its constant, unwavering lean means that for part of the year, our home in the northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun, and for another part, it is tilted away. This is the great why of the seasons, but it leads us to a deeper and more practical question: how does a simple change in orientation, a mere tilt, create the profound difference between the warmth of summer and the chill of winter? The answer is not in the Earth, but in the very nature of light itself. Imagine the sun's energy as a constant, endless river of light and warmth, flowing out in all directions. The amount of energy that leaves the sun does not change. The amount of that energy that reaches the top of the Earth's atmosphere is also, for all practical purposes, constant. Every day of the year, the Earth receives the same gift of solar energy. The secret of the seasons, then, is not in the amount of the gift, but in how that gift is delivered. It is a story of concentration versus diffusion. To understand this, let us return to our quiet, dark room, but this time, instead of a lamp in the center, you are holding a flashlight. The flashlight represents the sun, and its beam is the river of solar energy. Turn it on and point it directly down at the floor in front of you. Look at the shape it makes. It is a sharp, bright, clearly defined circle of light. All of the energy coming from your flashlight is concentrated into that one. small circle. If you were a tiny creature living in that circle of light, you would feel an intense, focused warmth. The energy per square inch is very high. This is summer sunlight. It is direct. It is potent. Now, without changing your grip on the flashlight, simply angle your wrist so the beam of light hits the floor at a low, shallow angle. Look at the shape it makes now. The light is no longer a small, bright circle. It has been smeared out into a large, dim, elongated oval. The flashlight is still producing the exact same amount of light, the exact same amount of energy, but that energy is now spread out over a much, much larger area of the floor. If you were our tiny creature standing at any one spot within that big, dim oval, you would feel much less warmth. The energy per square inch is now very low. This is winter sunlight. It is indirect. It is diffuse. This simple, beautiful principle is the entire secret to the changing warmth of the seasons. Now, let's go back to our tilted Earth on its journey. When our northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun, it is summer. For us, standing on the ground, the sun appears very high in the sky at midday. Its rays are shining down on us almost directly, like that first focused beam from the flashlight. The sun's energy is concentrated on our part of the world. Each square mile of land receives a powerful, direct dose of solar energy, which efficiently heats the ground, the air, and the water. The Earth soaks up this focused energy, and the world grows warm. Now, let the Earth travel 6 months along its orbit. We are on the other side of the sun, our northern hemisphere, still pointing faithfully to the North Star, is now tilted away from the sun. This is our winter. From our perspective on the ground, the sun now appears very low in the sky, even at midday. Its rays are striking the ground at a low, shallow angle, just like the second, tilted beam from our flashlight. The same amount of solar energy is arriving, but it is now smeared out over a vast area. Each square mile of land receives only a fraction of the energy it received in the summer. The gift of warmth is spread thin, like a tiny bit of butter on a very large piece of bread. The ground simply cannot heat up as effectively. This is the chill of winter. It is not an absence of the sun's energy, but a diffusion of it. There is a second, related effect that adds to this cooling. When the sun is low in the sky, its light must travel through more of the Earth's atmosphere to reach us. Think of it as a longer, more difficult journey. As the light passes through this thicker blanket of air, more of it is scattered and reflected back into space, and more of it is absorbed by the air itself. So, not only is the light more spread out when it arrives, it is also slightly weakened before it even reaches the ground. Let's use one more analogy to let this idea sink in. Imagine you are watering a small garden with a watering can. If you hold the can directly over a single plant and pour, all the water goes into a small, concentrated area, soaking the ground thoroughly. This is summer. Now, imagine you stand back and swing the can from side to side as you pour. The same amount of water now falls over the entire garden bed. Each plant gets only a light sprinkling. The ground becomes damp, but not deeply soaked. This is winter. The amount of water is the same, but its effect is completely different based on how it is distributed. So, the next time you feel the gentle warmth of the spring sun on your face, you can know what you are feeling. You are feeling the angle of the sunlight becoming a little more direct, a little more focused. You are feeling the Earth on its great journey, beginning to tilt your part of the world back toward our star. And when you see the long shadows of a late winter afternoon, you know that you are seeing the effect of diffuse light. The sun's energy spread gently and thinly across the landscape because your home is, for now, tilted away. This is the engine of the seasons. It is a simple, elegant dance of angles and light. It is not about a change in the sun's power nor a change in our planet's proximity. It is simply about how our constant, graceful lean changes the angle at which we receive the sun's eternal gift of light and warmth. With this understanding, we are now ready to visit the most extreme points in this journey, the moments of maximum tilt toward and maximum tilt away from the sun. We are ready to visit the solstices. We have discovered the beautiful secret of the seasons. It is not our distance from the sun, but the constant, graceful lean of our world as it journeys on its yearly path. And we have seen how this tilt changes the way the sun's light touches us, from a concentrated, direct gaze in summer to a diffuse, gentle glance in winter. Now, let us travel to a specific moment in our orbit, a point of beautiful extremity, where this effect reaches its absolute peak. We are going to visit the longest day of the year. We are going to rest in the warmth and light of the summer solstice. Let us set the scene in our minds. It is late June in the Northern Hemisphere. The world is at its most vibrant. The trees are covered in a thick canopy of deep green leaves. The fields are lush and high. Life is everywhere, buzzing, humming, and singing. There is a feeling of fullness in the air, a sense of the world brimming with a quiet, powerful energy. And on one particular day, around the 21st of June, the Earth arrives at a special point in its orbit. This is the moment when the Northern Hemisphere's tilt of 23.5 degrees is aimed as directly as it can be toward the sun. Our part of the world is leaning in, presenting itself fully to the light, in a posture of maximum reception. We have reached the summer solstice. The word solstice comes to us from Latin, sol for the sun, and stitium, which means to stand still. For weeks. As spring has progressed, you may have noticed the sun climbing a little higher in the sky each day at noon, and setting a little later each evening. But on the solstice, this northward journey of the sun across our sky seems to pause. It reaches its highest, northernmost point, and for a few days, it seems to stand still before it begins its slow, steady journey southward again toward autumn. The experience of this day is a celebration of light. You wake to a dawn that arrives remarkably early, the first light painting the sky long before the world has truly begun to stir. As the day progresses, you can feel the unique quality of the sun. At midday, it is not a distant object in the corner of the sky. It traces a high, majestic arc directly overhead. Your shadow at noon is the shortest it will be all year. A small, dark pool at your feet, a testament to how directly the sun's rays are falling upon you. This is the moment of maximum concentration, the flashlight from our earlier thought experiment shining at its most direct angle. But the true magic of the solstice is often felt in the evening. The day seems to stretch on and on, long after you feel the day should be ending. The sun hangs in the western sky, bathing the world in a warm, golden light. Twilight lingers, a soft, extended pause between day and night. It is a day that seems reluctant to end, a day that offers a generous and abundant gift of light. This is the longest day of the year, the day with the most hours of sunlight. This abundance of light has a profound effect. Not only is the sunlight at its most intense and concentrated, but we are also receiving it for more hours. The Earth has more time to soak in this energy, and less time, during the short night, to radiate that warmth back into space. The planet is in a state of positive energy balance. It is taking in more warmth than it is letting go of. This brings us to a gentle and interesting puzzle. If the summer solstice around June 21st is the day we receive the most direct and longest lasting sunlight, why is it not typically the hottest day of the year? Why do the truly hot, sweltering dog days of summer often arrive weeks later, in July or August? The answer lies in a concept called the lag of the seasons. The Earth, particularly its vast oceans, is like a great thermal savings account. It takes time to absorb and store heat. Imagine you have a large pot of cool water, and you place it on a stove, turning the burner to its highest setting. The water does not become instantly hot. The burner is delivering its maximum energy, but the water must take time to absorb that energy. It will continue to get warmer and warmer, and its temperature will likely peak long after you have started heating it. Even if you turn the burner down slightly, the water's temperature might still continue to rise for a while, because it is still taking in more heat than it is losing. Our planet works in the same way. The summer solstice is the day the burner is turned to its highest setting. We are receiving the most powerful input of solar energy. But the land and the oceans, which cover over 2/3 of our planet's surface, are vast reservoirs that take time to heat up. On the solstice, they are still in the process of absorbing this peak energy. For weeks following the solstice, even as the days begin to grow infinitesimally shorter and the sun's input begins to wane ever so slightly, the Earth is still absorbing more energy each day than it radiates away at night. The thermal bank account is still growing. The oceans are still storing the summer's heat. And it is this stored heat that is released back into the atmosphere, creating the peak temperatures of high summer, weeks after the peak of solar radiation has passed. The summer solstice, then, is not the peak of summer's heat, but the peak of summer's light. It is a moment of astronomical significance, a turning point in the year. For thousands of years, human cultures have recognized the power of this day. Great stone monuments like Stonehenge in England were built with incredible precision to align with the rising sun on the summer solstice. It has been a time of celebration, of festivals, of honoring the life-giving power of the sun at its most dominant. So let us rest in the feeling of this day, the feeling of a world saturated with light, the long, warm evening, the deep green of the trees, the hum of life at its most active. It is a moment of fullness, of peak potential. But within this peak, there is also the seed of the coming change. For on this day, the longest day, we are at a turning point. We have reached the top of the great yearly hill, and we know that from this moment forward, the sun will begin its slow retreat. The days will begin to shorten, almost unnoticeably at first, and the great slow exhale toward autumn will begin. It is a day that holds both the fullness of the present and the quiet promise of the inevitable. Gentle decline to come. It is the peak of the Earth's great solar breath. We have basked in the endless light of the summer solstice, that moment of peak energy when our part of the world leans most fully into the sun's embrace. We felt the power of direct light and the generosity of the longest day. But the Earth's journey is a circle, and for every peak there must be a valley. For every great inhale there must be a long, slow exhale. So now, we must travel together across 6 months of our planet's orbit, to the opposite side of the sun, to a point of equal and opposite extremity. We are going to visit the longest night of the year. We are going to rest in the deep, quiet stillness of the winter solstice. Let us find ourselves now in late December in the Northern Hemisphere. The vibrant, buzzing world of summer feels like a distant memory. The trees stand as dark, bare skeletons against a pale sky, The ground is hard, perhaps frozen, perhaps covered in a blanket of snow that muffles all sound. There is a profound quietness to the world, a sense of life held in suspension, a feeling of deep, planetary rest. And on one particular day, around the 21st of December, our tilted Earth arrives at the other great turning point in its orbit. This is the moment when the northern hemisphere is tilted as far away from the sun as possible. Our constant 23.5-degree lean, still pointing faithfully toward the North Star, now carries us into a posture of maximum distance from the direct rays of our star. We have reached the winter solstice. The name solstice, meaning sun standing still, is just as true here as it was in summer. For weeks, as autumn has deepened, the sun's path across the sky has been getting lower and shorter each day. But now, on the solstice, it reaches its lowest, southernmost point in the sky. It seems to pause, to stand still for a few days, before beginning its hopeful, steady journey northward again, toward the promise of spring. The experience of this day is a meditation on darkness and shadow. The dawn arrives late, reluctantly, into a world that seems to prefer the night. The sun, when it finally rises, is a pale, watery disk. It never climbs high into the sky. Instead, it traces a low, shallow arc, skimming just above the southern horizon. The light it gives feels thin, lacking the potent warmth of summer. Your shadow, even at midday, is long and stretched out, a testament to the low, glancing angle of the sun's rays. This is the moment of maximum diffusion, our flashlight from a few chapters ago shining at its most extreme angle, its energy spread thin across the cold landscape, and the day ends almost as soon as it begins. The sunset arrives with a startling swiftness, often in the late afternoon. And then we are welcomed into the longest night of the year. The darkness is not empty, but full. It is full of quiet, of stillness, of the crisp, cold air. It is a time when the world seems to have turned inward, a time for rest and reflection. This is the day when we receive the least amount of solar energy. The sunlight is at its most diffuse, and the period of daylight is at its shortest. There is very little time for the Earth to absorb warmth, and a very long night for it to radiate away whatever warmth it holds. The planet is in a state of deep energy deficit. And this, once again, brings us to a gentle puzzle. If the winter solstice is the day we receive the least amount of energy from the sun, why is it not, on average, the coldest day of the year? Why do the deepest, most bitter cold spells often arrive weeks later? In the months of January and February, the answer, once again, is the lag of the seasons. It is the same principle we saw in summer, but working in reverse. The great thermal savings account of the Earth, its oceans and land masses, has been spending its warmth all through the autumn. It has been losing more heat each day than it has been taking in. The winter solstice is the day when that rate of loss is at its greatest. It is the day the withdrawal from the bank account is largest, but the account is not yet empty. It still holds the residual warmth from the long-ago summer. For weeks after the solstice, even as the days begin to get a little bit longer and the solar input starts to increase, ever so slightly, the Earth as a whole is still losing more heat than it gains each day. The withdrawals, though shrinking, are still larger than the tiny deposits. The thermal bank account continues to dwindle. The coldest time of winter arrives when that account finally hits its lowest point. Typically a month or more after the solstice has passed. The land and the sea have finally given up the last of their stored summer warmth, and the brief, weak sun of winter has not yet had time to replenish it. The chill we feel in the heart of winter is the chill of a planet that has reached the bottom of its thermal exhale, But the winter solstice, for all its darkness, has never been a time of despair for those who watch the sky. It is, in fact, a moment of profound hope. For thousands of years, cultures across the northern hemisphere have celebrated this day not as the arrival of winter, but as the guarantee of spring. They knew that on this day, the longest night, a turning point had been reached. They knew that after this, the sun would be reborn. The days would slowly but surely begin to lengthen again. It is a festival of light's return. It is a promise whispered in the deepest dark. It is the universe demonstrating that every end is also a beginning. So let us rest in the feeling of this day, the deep quiet of the longest night, the sharp, clean feeling of cold air in your lungs, the sense of a world in a state of profound and necessary slumber. It is the great pause in the planet's yearly breath, the moment of maximum exhale, when all is still. And in this stillness, we can feel the quiet turning of the great cosmic wheel. We can feel the Earth, having reached its point of greatest distance, beginning its slow, graceful lean back toward the light. The journey towards spring has already, silently, begun. We have stood at the two great pillars of the year. We have felt the abundant, unending light of the summer solstice, and we have rested in the deep, quiet dark of the winter solstice. These are the moments of extremity, when our tilted world leans as far toward or as far away from the sun as its orbit will allow. They are the top and bottom of the great planetary breath. But what of the journey in between? What of the moments when our world is not leaning toward or away, but is caught in a moment of perfect, elegant balance? Twice in our planet's year-long journey, we pass through these points of equilibrium. They are the halfway marks between the solstices, the fulcrums upon which the seasons pivot. We call them the equinoxes. The name, like solstice, comes to us from Latin. Equus, meaning equal, and nox, meaning night. The equinox is quite literally the time of equal night, a day when the hours of daylight and the hours of darkness are nearly the same all across the globe. It is a time of planetary balance that when the sun's light shines evenly upon both the northern and southern hemispheres. Let us return to our model of you walking in a circle around a lamp in a dark room, your head always tilted toward the same wall. We saw how at one point, your face was tilted toward the lamp summer, and at the opposite point, your face was tilted away winter. The equinoxes are the 2 points on the sides of your circular path. At these 2 moments, your constant lean is perfectly sideways to the lamp. The light is not favoring your face or the back of your head. It is shining evenly on both hemispheres. On these 2 days, the great terminator, the line that separates the day-lit side of the Earth from the night side, passes directly through both the north and south poles. The entire planet shares in the light and the dark almost equally. Let us visit the first of these moments, the vernal, or spring equinox. It arrives around the 20th of March. In the northern hemisphere, the world is just beginning to stir from its long winter slumber. There is a change in the quality of the air. The deep, biting cold has begun to soften. The sunlight, which for months felt thin and watery, now seems to hold a gentle, promising warmth. The world, for so long quiet and dormant, is on the cusp of a great awakening. On this day, the sun, on its apparent journey across our sky, crosses the celestial equator, moving from south to north. This is the official astronomical start of spring. It is a day of perfect balance, but it is a balance that is tipping in the direction of light. From this day forward, for the next 6 months, the days in the northern hemisphere will be longer than the nights. The sun will climb higher in the sky each day. The great inhale of the year has begun. There's a feeling of palpable potential on the spring equinox. You can feel it in the damp smell of the thawing earth. You can see it in the first brave buds appearing on the bare branches of trees, and in the first green shoots of crocuses and daffodils pushing their way through the cold ground. You can hear it in the returning songs of migratory birds, and in the sound of melting ice dripping from the eaves. The day itself feels different. There is a sense of geometric purity to it. On the equinox, the sun rises almost exactly due east and sets almost exactly due west. No matter where you are on Earth, the balance of the day feels calm and orderly, a quiet starting line for the explosion of life that is to come. It is a day of profound renewal, a promise kept by the universe that the darkness of winter will not last forever, that the light will always return. It is the Earth, on its journey, beginning to lean its northern face back toward the sun's life-giving warmth. Now, let us travel 6 months forward in our minds to the other side of the sun. It is late September. The world is full and lush, heavy with the growth of the summer that has just passed. But again, there is a change in the air. A new crispness has arrived, especially in the mornings and evenings. The deep green of the leaves is beginning to fade, giving way to the first hints of yellow and orange. The air is filled with the dry, sweet scent of harvest. We have arrived at the autumnal equinox. Once again, we are at a point of perfect balance. The Earth's tilt is again sideways to the sun. Day and night are again of nearly equal length. On this day, the sun crosses the celestial equator once more, this time moving from north to south. This marks the official beginning of autumn in the northern hemisphere, like its springtime counterpart. This is a day of balance, but it is a balance that is tipping in the opposite direction, toward the darkness. From this day forward, for the next 6 months, the nights will be longer than the days. The sun's path across the sky will get a little lower each day. The great, slow exhale of the year is beginning. The feeling of the autumnal equinox is different from that of the spring. It is not about potential, but about fulfillment. It is a time of harvest, of gathering in the bounty that the summer sun has provided. The light has a softer, more golden quality. The world seems to pause, to take a deep, satisfying breath after the energetic work of summer. There is a sense of release, of letting go. The trees are preparing to shed their leaves, not in an act of death, but in an act of wise energy conservation, preparing for the lean months to come. The equinoxes, then, are the great transitional periods of the year. They are not destinations, like the solstices, but journeys. Spring is the journey from the cold and dark toward the light and warmth. Autumn is the journey from that warmth back toward the quiet and the cold. The equinoxes are the gateways to these journeys. They are moments of perfect equilibrium, where the entire planet is held in a state of grace before committing to the next chapter of its story. So, as you rest, you can feel these two moments of balance within your own self: the hope and quiet anticipation of the spring equinox, and the peaceful, reflective gratitude of the autumnal equinox. They are reminders that life is not always at its extremes. It is full of these beautiful, transitional moments, these periods of quiet change and perfect balance. They are the calm, even breaths between the great inhale and the great exhale of our planet's year. Our journey so far has been focused on our own experience, in our own part of the world. We have felt the coming of spring, the fullness of summer, the release of autumn, and the quiet of winter from the perspective of the northern hemisphere. We have followed our home through its solstices and equinoxes. But our planet is a globe, a complete world with two halves. And to truly understand the elegant genius of the seasons, we must now expand our awareness to hold the entire Earth in our minds at once. We must tell the tale of two hemispheres. The great imaginary line of the equator circles the middle of our world, dividing it into the northern and southern hemispheres. These two halves of our planet are in a constant, beautiful, and perfectly mirrored dance. Because of the Earth's constant tilt, it is impossible for both hemispheres to be tilted toward the sun at the same time. When one leans into the light, the other must, by necessity, lean away. They are partners in a perfect opposition, a planetary balance where one's summer is the other's winter, and one's spring is the other's autumn. Let us return to that moment of the June solstice. In our minds, we have been experiencing it as the peak of summer in the north. The days are long, the sun is high, the world is green and bursting with life. It is a time of warmth and outward energy. But now let us cast our consciousness to the other side of the world. Let us travel south across the equator to a place like Chile or South Africa or New Zealand. What is happening there? At this very same moment, because the northern hemisphere is tilted most directly toward the sun, the southern hemisphere is tilted most directly away from it. This is their winter solstice. The sun for them traces a low, short arc across their northern sky. Their days are the shortest of the year, their nights the longest. The air is cold. On the mountains of the Andes, fresh snow is falling. In the fields, the crops are dormant. The trees are bare. The animals are in a state of rest, conserving their energy. It is their time to turn inward, a season of quiet and slumber, while the north is celebrating the peak of light. This perfect opposition is the most powerful and undeniable proof of the true cause of the seasons. If the seasons were caused by our planet's distance from the sun, then the entire Earth would experience summer at the same time and winter at the same time. The fact that we have this beautiful mirrored reality, summer in one half, winter in the other, is the ultimate evidence that it is the tilt, and only the tilt, that governs our seasons. Now, let our tilted Earth continue its journey for 3 months. We arrive at the September equinox. We in the north are feeling the arrival of autumn. There is a crispness in the air, a sense of harvest and release. The days and nights are balanced. But the balance is tipping toward the cold. But what of the south? For them, this is the vernal equinox, the coming of spring. The ground is thawing. The first buds are appearing. The world is awakening from its winter rest. While the north is preparing for dormancy, the south is preparing for a great burst of life. It is a moment of global equilibrium, with day and night of equal length for everyone. But the two hemispheres are on opposite trajectories. One is gracefully declining into winter's rest, while the other is joyfully ascending towards summer's energy. The planet is in perfect balance, thus a harmony of opposites. We travel another 3 months. It is now late December, the time of the winter solstice in the north. We are experiencing our shortest days, our longest nights, our coldest temperatures. We might imagine a classic Christmas scene of snow-covered rooftops and warm fires. But now, let's fly south again in our imagination, to a place like Australia. Here, they are at the peak of their summer solstice. It is the height of their summer. The days are long and hot. The sun is high in the sky. The world is abuzz with life. The classic Australian Christmas is not one of snow and fireplaces, but of barbecues on the beach, of swimming in the cool ocean, of celebrating in the midst of abundant light and warmth. The northern winter is the southern summer. The two experiences, so opposite in character, are happening at the very same moment, on the very same planet, both orchestrated by the same simple, elegant tilt. And finally, we complete the journey, arriving at the March equinox. The north is stirring with the promise of spring, the days finally growing longer than the nights, and the south is breathing a sigh of release, entering its autumn, a time of harvest and preparation for the coming cool. Once again, the planet is in balance, the two hemispheres like two dancers passing each other gracefully in the middle of the dance floor, one beginning a journey toward the light, the other a journey toward the dark. This tale of two hemispheres is a story of beautiful symmetry. It shows us that our planet as a whole is always in a state of balance. The total amount of solar energy it receives is constant. The tilt simply distributes that energy differently throughout the year. When the north is receiving its greatest share, the south is receiving its least, and vice versa. It ensures that life is always flourishing somewhere. The Earth never puts all its eggs in one basket. While one hemisphere rests, the other is active. While one world sleeps, another awakens. So, as you rest here tonight, whatever season you may be in, know that your experience is only one half of the global story. On the other side of the world, someone is feeling the exact opposite season. A person feeling the first chill of autumn is balanced by another feeling the first warmth of spring. A person celebrating the longest day of summer is balanced by another resting in the longest night of winter. We are all connected in this great planetary rhythm. We are all passengers on this same tilted, spinning world, each experiencing our own unique part of its single, unified, and eternal dance around the sun. We have traveled the vastness of space on our tilted planet, watching as its constant lean creates a perfectly mirrored dance of seasons between the two hemispheres. We have seen how this simple, graceful posture dictates where the sun's light will fall and when. We have understood the great, physical engine of our changing world. But now it is time to bring our focus back to the Earth itself, to the thin, fragile, and miraculous layer of life that carpets its surface. For the story of the seasons is not just one of astronomy and physics. It is the story of life's incredible ability to adapt, to endure, and to dance to the great, reliable rhythm of the cosmos. Every living thing, from the tallest redwood tree to the smallest insect, is a finely tuned instrument. And the music it is tuned to is the predictable, cyclical change of the seasons. The slow increase and decrease of daylight, the gentle rise and fall of temperature. These are not just weather phenomena. They are signals. They are the ticking of a great planetary clock that tells all of life when it is time to grow, when it is time to harvest, when it is time to retreat, and when it is time to rest. Let us begin with the quiet, powerful wisdom of the plant kingdom. Think of a great maple or oak tree standing in a temperate forest. In the long, warm days of summer, it is a magnificent factory of life. Its broad green leaves are covered in millions of tiny solar panels. Drinking in the sun's direct light, it uses this energy to convert water and carbon dioxide into the sugars that fuel its growth. The dominant pigment in its leaves is chlorophyll, the molecule that captures the light, and it is so abundant that it masks all other colors, giving the summer world its deep, uniform greenness. But as the year turns and we drift toward the autumnal equinox, the tree senses the change. It feels the days growing shorter, the nights growing cooler. It reads these signals as a message the time of abundant energy is ending. It is time to prepare for the lean, cold months of winter, to keep its broad, thin leaves during a cold. Dry winter would be a liability. It would lose precious water, and the leaves could be damaged by frost. So the tree makes a wise, strategic decision. It begins to shut down the factory. It stops producing the energy-intensive chlorophyll. And as the green chlorophyll begins to fade and break down, a beautiful secret is revealed. Hiding beneath the green all summer long, there have been other pigments, other colors, the yellows and oranges of the carotenoids. These colors were always there, but were simply overwhelmed by the green. Now, as the chlorophyll disappears, these brilliant, warm colors are unveiled. The forest is set ablaze in a final, glorious celebration of the year's stored sunlight. The tree then goes one step further. It methodically withdraws the remaining nutrients from the leaves back into its branches and trunk, storing them away for the spring. Finally, at the base of each leaf stem, it grows a special layer of cells that neatly severs the connection. And the leaf, its work done, lets go, drifting gently to the forest floor. The tree is not dying. It is entering a state of profound, intelligent rest, conserving its energy, waiting with perfect patience for the signals of spring that it knows will come. Other plants have different strategies. The annual wildflower, in its brief season, pours all of its energy into creating seeds. The parent plant may die with the first frost, but it has left behind these tiny, hardened capsules of potential, each one a promise of a new plant, ready to awaken when the soil warms again. And beneath the frozen ground, the bulbs of tulips and daffodils hold their stored energy, dormant and safe. Miniature powerhouses waiting for the exact right moment to begin their journey toward the sun. The animal kingdom, too, moves to this same celestial rhythm. For many, the changing seasons are a signal to begin one of the most heroic and awe-inspiring journeys in the natural world migration. Think of an Arctic tern. This small seabird experiences more daylight than any other creature on Earth. It breeds during the northern summer in the near-constant daylight of the high Arctic. But as the autumnal equinox approaches and the northern world begins to tilt away from the sun, it feels the ancient call. It leaves its Arctic home and begins an incredible pole-to-pole journey, flying all the way to the Antarctic to arrive just in time for the southern summer. It is, in effect, chasing the summer, living its entire life in a state of almost perpetual sunlight by following the tilt of the Earth. It navigates by the sun, by the stars, by the Earth's magnetic field, and innate, perfect understanding of the planet's rhythms written into its very being. Other animals choose a different strategy. Instead of chasing the warmth, they enter a state of deep rest. This is hibernation. A bear, after spending the autumn feasting and building up fat reserves, will find a den as winter approaches. Its heart rate slows dramatically, its breathing becomes shallow, its body temperature drops. It enters a state of suspended animation, a deep slumber that allows it to conserve energy and survive the long months when food is scarce. This is not just sleep. It is an act of profound trust in the cycles of the earth. The bear retreats from the world, confident in the knowledge that the seasons will turn, the warmth will return, and the world will once again provide. And for those animals that remain active, the seasons write changes upon their very bodies. The snowshoe hare, in the autumn, sheds its brown summer coat and grows a new one of pure white, providing perfect camouflage against the coming snow. The stoat, a small weasel, does the same, transforming from a brown creature into a white one known as an ermine. The deer sheds its light summer coat for a thicker but warmer, grayer one that will insulate it against the winter cold. These are not conscious decisions. They are deep, physiological responses triggered by the changing length of the day, a process governed by the planet's tilt. Every aspect of life is touched by this dance. The timing of mating seasons, the birth of the young, the availability of food, The very colors and sounds of the landscape all are tied to this simple astronomical fact of our world's constant lean. Life did not just appear on this planet and find the seasons here. Life has evolved over millions of years in a constant, intimate dialogue with the seasons. The rhythm of the planet is woven into the very fabric of life itself. So, as you rest here, feel your own connection to this rhythm. Even in our modern world, we are not immune. We feel the energizing effect of a long summer day and the desire to turn inward on a long winter night. We change our clothes, the food we eat, the activities we do, all in response to the season we are in. We are also animals, living on this tilted world, and we too are dancing to its ancient, gentle music. We are all part of this great, interconnected web of life, all listening to the same cosmic clock. Our long and peaceful journey through the seasons is now drawing to its close. We began with a simple puzzle, letting go of the idea of distance to embrace the beautiful truth of our planet's constant lean. We have traveled on our tilted sphere through an entire year, feeling the focused energy of the summer solstice, the deep quiet of the winter solstice, and the perfect balance of the equinoxes. We have seen how life itself has learned to dance to this celestial music. For our final chapter, let us visit the places on Earth where the seasonal rules seem different. The exceptions that, in their own unique way, prove the gentle, powerful truth of the tilt. Let us first travel to the very middle of our world, to the great circle of the equator. Here, straddling the line between the two hemispheres, is a land where the seasons, as we have come to know them, do not truly exist. Because the equator is at the center of the spinning, tilted Earth. It receives the sun's light at a high, direct angle for the entire year. As the Earth makes its journey, the sun may shift slightly to the north or the south in the sky, but it is always almost directly overhead. The flashlight beam is never smeared out into a dim oval. It is always a bright, potent circle. As a result, there is no significant temperature change throughout the year. It is always warm. The very concepts of summer and winter, of a hot season and a cold season, lose their meaning. Likewise, the length of the day remains almost constant. Every day of the year at the equator has approximately 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. There is no long, lingering twilight of a summer evening, nor the deep, extended darkness of a winter's night. There is only the steady, reliable rhythm of equal day and equal night. The lack of temperature-based seasons at the equator is one of the most elegant proofs of our story. If seasons were about our distance from the sun, the equator, like every other place on Earth, would experience them. The fact that it remains in a state of perpetual warmth, right where the sunlight is most consistently direct, shows us that the angle of light is everything. Here, where the angle never changes much, the seasons as we know them do not appear. The seasons in these equatorial regions are instead defined by something else. Most often by rainfall, a wet season, and a dry season driven by larger atmospheric patterns, not by the direct tilt of the Earth. Now, let us travel from the zone of least seasonal change to the zones of the most extreme change imaginable. Let us journey in our minds to the very top and bottom of our world, the Arctic and the Antarctic. Here, at the poles. The effect of the 23.5-degree tilt is not a gentle shift in temperature, but a dramatic, all-or-nothing reality of light and darkness. Let us visit the North Pole at the time of the June solstice. This is the moment when the northern hemisphere is tilted most directly toward the sun. For us in the mid-latitudes, this meant a long day. But for someone standing at the North Pole, the consequences are far more profound, because the very top of the world is tilted toward the sun. the sun does not set. Not for this one day. It does not set for 6 entire months. From the spring equinox in March to the autumnal equinox in September, the sun never dips below the horizon. This is the land of the midnight sun. The sun traces a great, slow circle in the sky over the course of 24 hours, getting a little higher or lower, but never disappearing. It is a world of perpetual daylight, a summer of unending light where the concept of night vanishes completely. Now, let us stay there, at the North Pole, as the Earth continues its journey. As we pass the autumnal equinox, the pole begins to tilt away from the sun. The sun skims the horizon and finally sets, not to rise again for 6 long months. This is the beginning of the polar night. From September to March, the North Pole is plunged into a deep, continuous twilight and darkness, while the Earth's own body blocks it from the sun's view. The winter solstice in December marks the middle of this long, dark night. This is the most extreme expression of the seasons on our planet, born from the most extreme angle of the tilt. At the poles, the gentle rhythm of day and night is replaced by a vast, slow rhythm of a half year of light and a half year of dark. It is a world utterly defined by the planet's lean. And so, our exploration is complete. We have seen how the Earth's constant tilt, combined with its journey around the sun, is the sole author of our seasons. It is a story that explains the warmth of summer and the chill of winter, the balance of the equinoxes and the extremes of the solstices. It explains why the hemispheres are opposites, why life has adapted in such beautiful ways, and why the equator and the poles have their own unique climates. It is a single, elegant idea that explains so much about our world. But the purpose of our journey tonight was not simply to collect facts. It was to find a sense of peace in the deep and reliable order of the universe. The seasons are more than just a mechanical process. They are a promise. They are the universe's guarantee that the cold of winter will always give way to the renewal of spring, that the darkness will always be followed by the return of the light, that the intense energy of summer will always be softened by the gentle release of autumn. The cycle is constant. It is dependable. And in its dependability, there is a profound comfort. It is a rhythm that has been beating for billions of years, a lullaby sung to our planet by the cosmos itself. And you, resting here, are a part of that lullaby. Your own life follows its own seasons, its own rhythms of energy and rest, of activity and reflection. Your own breath in this very moment is a quiet echo of the planet's great, slow breath, the steady inhale and the long, peaceful exhale. So now, let go of the journey. Let the images of the tilted Earth, the spinning globe, the sunlit plains and the frozen poles all dissolve. Let them fade into a simple feeling, a feeling of connection, a feeling of peace, a feeling of trust in the great, gentle cycles that hold our world. There is nothing more to understand, nothing left to explore tonight. There is only the quiet rhythm of your own breathing, a soft and steady pulse in harmony with the great, sleeping planet all around you. Rest now. Let the constant, turning world cradle you as you drift gently into a deep and peaceful sleep.